Hey everyone, how's it going? We're right back to doing hot takes, and we're going to open up today with Ethan Thomas 8087. I don't like IDW Chrome Dome. Enough said. You see, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a dog whistle, but goddamn, that enough said makes it feel like a dog whistle. We're going to go very quickly past that to weaponized toy car. Transformers Prime is overrated AF, and its fans tend to be toxic, if not more toxic, than Bayverse and G1ers. I mean, I feel bad, because the other day I did the list, the tier ranking list of the shows, and people were really upset with what I had to say about Prime. And, like, on one hand, I get it, the show's important. On the other hand, there was a person who literally for like 48 hours stayed in that comment section, and as soon as anyone said anything about Prime, they would immediately have a reply ready to go. And I don't understand that level of commitment to a show. And like, keep in mind, I have my comfort shows. I had shows that I watched when my dad left. I had shows I watched when my partner died. And even I'm not that ready to fight someone in a comment section over Transformers Armada. You know what I mean? But people gonna do what they do. Silver Streak 9841. This might be a hot take, but when it comes to the Headmasters concept, I like the Nebulan human partners over the Headmaster anime take. It's just that the Nebulan human partners are what make Headmaster seem interesting. So basically, Silver Streak doesn't like the idea that the bodies are larger bodies and that the characters are just the heads. Because if you don't know, in Japan, there isn't a second character. Chrome Dome is the head. And then Chrome Dome takes over the larger body. I can kind of get that. Personally, I think I prefer the idea of little head becomes big body. Just because that's easier for me to understand. But also, like, I do enjoy the Masters. I think I like Target Masters and Power Masters more than Headmasters. But Headmasters are so cool. So I can understand, like, how you get there. Aaron Shepard 6246. Optimus was justified in the okay. Optimus was justified in the Bayverse and is completely accurate to the character. Oh, and the Bayverse, the second best piece of Transformers media next to Prime. Okay. Well, I mean, it is accurate to the Bayverse Optimus. Bayverse Optimus acts exactly like Bayverse Optimus. Justified in... Wait. Okay. Which parts of him are justified? Like, the ripping off face part? The killing unarmed prisoners part? How about the we hunt down America's enemies part? Is that one the accurate part? Yeah, amazingly, I don't think Optimus being deployed to take on America's enemies is that accurate to G1 Optimus, but you do you. That's why we do these hot takes. Bacon1215. Not sure if this is a hot take or not, but I do not think Transformers Energon is good at all. Huh. Is that a hot take? No one likes Energon. Okay, no, I'm seeing stuff like, I don't understand why people want new toys. Now, I will say, Bacon, that's a hot take. People like Energon toys. I like Energon toys. I would like new versions of some of those designs, like Galvatron. I think Energon Galvatron is the best Galvatron has ever looked as a character. I don't like the show, but I do really like the toy designs. That's my take on Energon. It's like a reverse Beast Machines. Stop Gaunt 7360. Transformers needs more crazy-ass alt modes. Cars and planes are cool, but come on, are robots that can turn into anything. I need more stuff like Hand Megatron. Yeah! Hand Megatron from RID. I agree. And it's funny. There was, S-Vector Prime at one point turned into a column for Psykill from the GoBots. And part of it was, like, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but he brings up a really good point that there was so much more diversity of design, even in the first year of GoBots, than there's ever really been in Transformers. Like, there's a ton of cool vehicles that got a GoBot figure, but have never gone Transformers. Like, a seaplane. And I totally agree. I would like to see more weird vehicles in Transformers. Lucas... Oh, okay, what is this? This is... I'm not even going to try that. Lukakme 3417. Galvatron has a better design than Megatron, both in terms of robot mode appearance and alternate mode, especially the alternate mode. A self-propelled cannon makes way more sense in-universe than a realistic handgun. I agree with you that I think Galvatron, at least G1, okay? I think there are Megatron designs that are way better than G1 Galvatron, but in terms of G1 Galvatron is a much better design than G1 Megatron. That said, both of them have stupid alt modes. The gun is dumb, and the cannon is not much better. Galvatron should have been a tank. Megatron should have been a tank. They both should have been tanks. That's what I think. Jackie Smooth Flop. Okay, yeah. Skeleton combiners are not as big a deal as people make it out to be. It makes all aspects of a combiner team enjoyable to mess with. I genuinely can't decide which mode to keep the aerial bots in sometimes. So we talked about this in the last hot take video. I think it's a balance. I think in a perfect world, you would have skeleton components, but the combiner team would still have to transform a little bit. I think Superion is as good as it's been so far. I don't think Menasor was as good as it could have been, and I kind of think that Bruticus is going to be rough because, good God, look at Vortex's arms. But it can work, and I think Superion proves how it can work. That's my personal take on that. Bronco 5591. I think Beast Machines was interesting, and I kind of like that they were all kind of out there in weird designs. It doesn't fit nicely with Beast Wars, but neither do other series like a bunch of things in Aligned. Yeah, so I agree with everything Bronco says here. I think Beast Machines is a good show. It's not as good as Beast Wars, and it's terrible if you look at it as a direct sequel to Beast Wars. But as its own standalone thing, Beast Machines actually brings a lot of unique things to the table, and I really enjoy it. Ikuma3579. Animated is the only good Transformers series, and the Bayverse is had the best movies. Bayverse is have the best movies. I mean, like, what do you have competition with? Transformers 1, Bumblebee, Rise of the Beast. Well, is Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast Bayverse? Did we ever figure that out? I don't know if we ever figured that out. I mean, Animated is the only good Transformers series I think is off base, and then Bayverse is have the best movies. I just don't know about that one. I think you and I is have different opinions. I have No Cuts 06. The Netflix Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy was subjectively better than most Transformers shows. I mean, I can't argue that. Subjectively better? I can't argue what you subjectively think. Unless, do you mean objectively? Because if it's objectively better, then you and I can have a conversation. Like, I think there's other shows that objectively had better writing and objectively had stronger characters, objectively had better performances and better direction and better animation. But I can't argue your subjective opinion. That's your subjective opinion. Sammy Center 6. I have a few. Nearly all of Shockwave's alt modes suck, and he should stop being a Cybertronian vehicle. I actually agree with that. And I'd take a step further. I don't think Shockwave should have an alternate mode. I think Shockwave should look at that as being unnatural. Because, at least in some continuities, transformation isn't a natural thing for Transformers. They developed it. I kind of like the idea that Shockwave is too proud to transform. 2. Carwave hasn't been done right since Animated and Dark of the Moon. Have they done Car Soundwave since Animated and Dark of the Moon? Oh yeah, I guess he was a van in RID-15. Yeah, okay, fair enough. TF needs to stop trying to appeal to Super Young. Okay. Sammy, Rescue Bots did great. Siege did not. I'm not talking about the Siege toy line, I'm talking about the Siege cartoon. Yeah, no, if anything, we need to appeal way more to the super young kids, and we don't need things like fucking G1 Venom. Alright. Who would suck? Oh, wow, that is a username. Psychocyclonus formerly... Oh, wow, it got cut off there. Okay, so Psychocyclonus, sure. Alright, a few of my hot takes. We need a tad more moral ambiguity in the factions in animation, bastard Autobots and chill Decepticons. Okay, so a little bit of like the IDW energy shot into the cartoons. That'd be kind of cool. Specifically, I would like more heroic Decepticons, and I think more bastard Autobots would be cool to see too. Especially right now when you have like Skybound, and we have good examples of both. Hot Rod needs to be pink, magenta, or maroon. Not red though. Never red. I agree with that, just because I think pink and magenta and maroon are so much kind of rarer to see in Transformers, it makes Hot Rod feel a little bit more special. If he's red, well, there's like 50 other dudes who are all red. Michael Bay's Transformers is the Snyderverse of the TF franchise, though our base is a lot better than that one. I mean, I guess if you're just saying like, oh, it's maybe a bit overhyped and edgy, sure. I don't know. What's better between Bayverse Transformers and Snyderverse DC? I'm actually going to say Bayverse Transformers because, Jesus Christ, the best part about Snyderverse DC is when they got James Gunn to come in and kill it. All right. What does this say? Is this Little Hex? Little Hex. Optimus and Alita 1 should feel like positive role models for the kids and parents watching Transformers. Optimus the gentle, emotional idealist, and Alita 1 the stern, steadfast realist. Hard for me to explain, imagine Cisco from Star Trek. That respect each other even if they don't agree or get along very well. Stoic Optimus and proud Alita I do still like, but not as the standard. I totally agree with that. Like, I love warm, emotional Optimus Prime, and I really like stern, a little bit colder Alita 1. And we kind of have that in Skybound, you know, without the whole respecting each other part. But I love that dynamic for them, and it feels perfect. I like the idea. You even see it back in G1 a little bit, where Optimus Prime is the perfect dad, Alita 1 is perfect boss, and it's a great dynamic for the Autobots to have for their leadership. The Dinobots and the Predacons should combine. What do you mean the Predacons? The Predacons always combine, don't they? Don't the Predacons always turn to Predaking? I mean, except for like Shattered Glass Predacons, I guess. Okay. They can still take on typical combined forms like the Thunder Mayhem or Ruination without combining, but their combined forms should be so dangerous that they can only be beaten by each other or Titan-class Transformers. Oh, so you're like going straight up like the Beast. Like you want the Beast to be your combined Dinobots. I mean, like, there's something cool to that idea, the idea that the Dinobots, their combined form is just too dangerous and there's no way to reel it back in. But I don't know if that's ever been done very well in a story. That said, the potential is absolutely there, and it would be interesting to see someone tackle that. Andy Joe 522. I think the toys usually end up looking cooler than their designed alt mode first, robot mode second. I don't care that the first MP Starscream mold doesn't look like the 80s cartoon. The jet mode is immaculate, and the one big change the robot needs is to work the kibble at the waist into scabbards for some sword accessories. Functional vehicle kibble is a hallmark of top-tier robot mode design. Yep, so I agree with part of this. I prefer robot mode, and then vehicle mode comes second. But that's always going to be the debate with Transformers fans. Is it more important to have perfect vehicle or perfect robot? And then I totally agree that vehicle kibble that can do cool stuff is always awesome. Like, even if they just, like, sculpt guns into the kibble, at least then you can be like, oh, okay, but that's, like, you can fold the kibble up and they can shoot. I think the single line that did functional kibble the best is, like, Cybertron, and it's because they were literally like, okay, let's fit the Cyber Planet key gimmick in that kibble. But I totally agree with you, Andy Joe. I think there's cool stuff there. Best Dongle Weenus 7254. Hot take. Bumblebee isn't overrated. It's just a new thing bad situation. It's good that the franchise has many reoccurring characters. So, Best Dog, I don't think Bumblebee is overrated, but I do think there was a point in which we were overproducing too many similar-looking Bumblebee toys. Like, I think that's what people mean when they say Bumblebee is overrated, is just there were too many toys that looked exactly like each other all out at one time, and that did legitimately hurt Transformers toy sales. But, like, Bumblebee has earned his spot at the table. He deserves to be in a lot of things at this point. I totally agree with that. Valentin Ventilla, 4246. Quake is the ultimate life form. Also, Earthrise Prime kind of sucks. No offense if you like it. I mean, Quake is the ultimate life form. No, Shadow is the ultimate life form. And also, I actually like Earthrise Prime. I think I'm the only person alive who would say I like Earthrise Prime more than SS-86 Prime. But that's just me. Vibes 4225. There should be more Transformers shows not centered around Optimus. Show me a new Prime in the lineage that we've never seen before. Give me new characters and stories about something new. They can reference the past and other characters from the franchise the same way Beast Wars did, but it should maintain the idea of being centered around a new cast of characters and the conflict that they deal with. So I was about to say Vibes. They've already done that. They did that with Beast Wars. And to some extent, I'd even say that's how Armada feels, because Armada Optimus is so different from G1. But I agree, I think it would be nice to kind of have like a major shakeup and like not have a lot of the A-listers pop up for a little bit. Okay, now this other take. Oh, also doesn't count as a real hot take, but here's one. I think Transformers Prime doesn't deserve all the praise and glaze that it gets. Okay, I'm not going to venture into that one. Apparently that's just a super common take in the fandom, and I didn't realize it. I thought I was the only person alive who didn't like Prime. But, alright. Totally not Xvendi. Age of Extinction and The Last Night, they weren't the best movies, but they weren't as bad as most people say they are. Dude, I want to say this right now. The Last Night made me consider taking drinking back up, but that's just me. And now we're going to go straight forward. By the way, I've never had a drinking problem. That's a joke. I gotta say that now. Tarn Lever XD. Kind of crazy hot take, but I really hate Skybound Alita 1. It's when she tells RC she doesn't get to choose what happened to Magnus, and when she talks about how Cliffjumper has hope while she doesn't. She just sounds like a character who's like, oh, please feel sorry for me, and I hate that. So, Tarn Lever, you and I are going to disagree with this on this one. I don't want every Alita one to be like Skybound Alita, but I really like Skybound Alita. And I don't take it as a feel sorry for me. I think Alita has had to lead the Autobots in a losing war effort for millions of years. And yeah, if like friggin' SpongeBob showed up and he was like, guys, it's okay, friendship, when you just had to watch as your sister got like ripped apart and your dad got gutted and your best friend, his face is a pile of goo, like still trying to mutter to you, but all you can hear is the bubbles of blood coming up. Then like, yeah, you'd probably be pretty cynical. So I like Alita for what she is, but I would not want that to be Alita's main personality going forward, I think. That's my personal opinion. Totally not Xvendi again. Modern Shug and SS figures are either overly simplified and don't look the best, or really complex and not accurate compared to older figures. Truth be told, I don't really care about accuracy, I just want good toys. And I can understand what you're getting at here, but I do think that that's more just a case-by-case basis. I don't think that you can say that broad strokes and it really hold up. Totally not Xvendi again, okay. Waist swivels aren't that necessary in modern figures. They are nice, but they aren't needed. Well, yeah, they're not necessary, but it's nice for them to be there, and I think at this point they've become so common that they almost kind of have to be there. Totally not Xvendi again, okay. The new 86 Devastator is amazing. The backpack isn't too bad. All the individual bots are pretty good, and the only issue I have is the offset knees and the elbows. Yeah, 86 Devi is pretty cool. Probably one of the better Devastators we've ever had. Officially, at least. Tarnished Steel. Triple changers in general always have intrigued me. The idea of having 2 or more alternate modes is really cool in my opinion. Yeah, triple change. Is that a hot take? Let's just talk about how triple changers are cool. We all like triple changers. And the complexity of it all on how they work with like TFA Blitzwing having 3 personalities or the Duocons being the predecessors of them in Dreamwave Comics. My favorite one, surprisingly, is Overcharge. Is any of that a hot take? Tarnished Steel, no offense. Interesting. It's nice to know, but like, I don't think that's a hot take. I think you're just saying that you like triple changers. Iron Blood Enjoyer 1933. Parts of the Unicron trilogy are more looked at than others. Looks at Armada. Yeah, Armada definitely gets the lion's share of the love. Cybertron deserves a lot more. Energon could use a few toys here and there, but also Armada was the best one, so that's why Armada gets all that love. Doopy HPP. Kind of a warm tank, but I think the Evergreen aesthetic and Evergreen cast should just go away more to make room for completely new characters, obscure characters, and aesthetics. I totally agree. I think that we need to have new characters, new aesthetics, new cast. It's what helped with Beast Wars. It's what helped with Armada. It's what helped with the Bayverse. The fact that we're trying to make everything look like G1 is killing the franchise, and the times where the franchise was flourishing was when they were embracing new and weird and different. Oh, it's the Scottish Avenger again. Siege Magnus is better than the 86 version. Bro is too big and wide. Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. I like the vehicle mode on Siege Magnus a ton. But overall, I think I'm probably still a fan of the 86. Queen Stoge, my apologies. Getaway was right. Whoa! Getaway was right! In the issue of 50 of More Than Meets the Eye, explains his viewpoint on Megatron, yet is still stands the villain despite, he said, being absolutely correct. Megatron was a mass murderer and a war criminal, and instead of receiving any kind of justice, he was allowed to go about his way with no actual consequences for committing multiple genocides, and he rightly calls him out for that. But no, and on top of it, Megs was also on the Lost Light with Whirl, the bot who essentially radicalized him and turned him from the pacifist into a murdering dictator that he is. He should have been executed, but instead he's seen as misunderstood and allowed to go on his way, question mark, question mark, question mark. So, Queen Stoge, I think that you're hitting on something that is weird to think about when it comes to a narrative. And that is, when you're doing a redemption arc, we're always seeing it from the POV of the character trying to be redeemed. So, a lot of people really sympathize with that Megatron because we're in his head and we understand what he's doing. But you're completely right. Megatron was also a mass murderer and a war criminal. But I think that More Than Meets the Eye does show that as well. I mean, remember, Megatron was more than happy to turn himself into the DJD. Megatron was overcome with grief at all the lives that he had taken when he was forced to look at it. I think it's a case where Getaway at first was presented as a well-intentioned extremist, but the point was, not only was Megatron able to change, but Getaway could say something that was correct, but have an underlying desire underneath that. Because it wasn't just that Getaway wanted to bring Megatron to justice, it was Getaway wanted a ship and power and prestige. So he hitched his wagon to something that was correct, and there was a moral argument, but it was always just a smokescreen to get what he wanted. And I think the story there is the idea of, you can have people who will be like, this person is obviously bad, hate them, but at the same time, they can be just as bad, if even worse. And that's something that happens in the real world all the time. You know, not to get super political, there's a whole lot of Confederates that would talk about how much they hate the Nazis. And the reason why is because, well, what are you going to do? Say that you like Nazis? This isn't a group chat. All right, now we're going to keep going straight along to Ultra Jaeger Studios. Rambond John, I demand you make a Skywarp video. This isn't even a hot take. This isn't a hot take. This is demand. What the hell, Ultra Jaeger Studios? All right, we'll do Skywarp eventually. 23 Sangurity. Slingshot is the... You're dead to me. You're dead to me. All right, actual hot take, though. I guess is that I don't like when Transformers seem to have ages. I think Earthspark did okay with the Terrans being children. Maybe they could act old like Cup, but I think it's really silly when they say like, oh, I can't replace this part. Like with Ratchet's hands in IW More Than Meets the Eye. There is a way to make it in the first place. Why can't you get a replacement part? So 23 Sangurity, I actually really like that in Transformers because that happens in our real world. I mean, the reason why you don't see many classic cars on the road is because eventually the factories stop making replacement parts. And you gotta think, with the Transformers, Cybertron's been dead for thousands of years. They're not producing new pieces. The factories aren't running. And older models, you'd only have so much backstock to work with. So that makes complete sense to me. Like, they're machines. I think that makes more sense than them, like, growing beards or something. And it would make sense that the way that, like, Cup and Ratchet act old is they literally just can't replace pieces as easily anymore. That's basically the plot of the movie Robots. And I like robots, so I like Transformers when they do it. Because I'm a hack like that. JD Raindrop YT. Personally, Rumble is blue, Frenzy is red, and Liege Maximo is my least favorite Prime. Yeah, I have no opinion on Liege Maximo. And in my head, Rumble is blue and Frenzy is red. But also, I'm not going to, like, choke someone out over that. If someone were to tell me that Frenzy is blue, I would just be like, oh, okay. Because I don't think about the cassettes all that often, to be honest with you. Merrick1 Shatar 538. As much as I love the figures and collect them, I think Hasbro gives Transformers the short end of the stick most of the time, especially nowadays. Coming from collecting other toys, you can sometimes tell a figure doesn't feel finished. What doesn't help too is the favoritism Hasbro rolls around, and not to say like every figure that isn't G1 is bad, but like a great figure in the Generations Armada Starscream has some oddities that feel so off, to say also the lack of completion for Armada figures, not having their minicons or most of the teams being complete, which ain't really a hot take. Just coming from collecting other toys like Star Wars with all the paint detail and other bits of older figures and additions, Transformers tends to stick out a bit sometimes is all. I agree with that. And what I'd say is I think you need to also factor in just how many more pieces go into a Transformer, how much more complex the molds have to be for Transformers. Like, that's a part of it too. But also, there's no arguing, yeah, Transformers G1 is always given the priority, and other things kind of have to deal with whatever table scraps they can get. And then in terms of, like, promotion, Marvel and Star Wars is always going to be, like, Hasbro's big two. Because, you know, Marvel and Star Wars are these massive media empires. And Transformers gets more love than, like, G.I. Joe in media. But I could also understand how someone could say, yeah, but G.I. Joe toys get more love. But I would still stick by the fact that a G.I. Joe toy is always going to be much easier to design and to produce than a Transformer. And it's just because, literally, there are more moving parts when it comes to making a functioning Transformer. Alright, I think we're going to do one more hot tech, and then we're going to call it on this video. What we got? Hortica Nate 3821. Optimus shouldn't have come back at the end of G1, or at least he shouldn't have taken command away from Rodimus. And Bumblebee is better when he can talk, regardless of how corny he is. I agree with both of those. I think Rodimus as a character was legitimately hurt by being completely stripped of leadership. It would have been cool if in Season 4, Rodimus and Optimus were essentially co-leaders. Even if he wasn't called Rodimus Prime anymore, Hot Rod should have been in a position of authority. And then, I also agree, when Bumblebee can talk, he can have a character. The exception, I think, is the Bumblebee movie, and that's because Travis Knight is an amazing filmmaker and made great decisions. And it helps that, what's their name? Haley Steinfeld is a very, very good actor, and Bumblebee was animated well. Basically, 2018 Bumblebee just might be the best Transformers thing ever. That's what I'm getting at. But on that note, thank you guys so much for watching, and hey, we'll see what we get up to next time.